How do you start a transition street? Could I turn my street into a transition street, for instance? I know there's this handbook full of good advice and so on, but what are the rules really and how does it work? To find out, let's talk with the coordinator of Transition Street Geelong and also with some of all the people in this town who are in the process of transitioning their own streets. I'm out to find out how do you start a transition. Because I want to start one in my own street.
We've got maybe 10 houses in our street, and we all kind of know each other already a little bit, so that there's that stranger danger isn't kind of there. But, you know, in saying that, we want to make it awesome so then we can bring it to the wider community as well.
So the handbook is a bit like a manual with chapters on water, energy, food, transport, waste and consumption, and so on. It gives lots of advice on how you can go about these things.
Everybody has different personalities, you know, and even though you all live in the same street, you don't know each other really well, but you know each other well enough that you have that common ground. And so I think it's really nice to build that community and for us to all share and care and give, I guess. You know, it's a nice thing. So we set up a Facebook page, and we've had it for a little bit, but that's a good way for us to communicate this. And so even the people that might not come to the meetings, but they might still be interested to feed Karen's chooks.
Yes.
You know,
so they read it.
Let their kids come and have beautiful apples. And then we're talking about doing a veggie garden that we can share. And I said to my neighbour on the other side, and she was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. You know, that's awesome. So everybody's really keen to learn, and we all just want to learn together, I guess. Isn't it? Do you think?
Yeah, it is. I think it is too, and it is creating that sense of community. We're getting to know each other better as well, and we're all on a bit of a learning thing. And we all picked food. That was what we wanted to start with because it's something universal that we all like. And things have been fairly organic, haven't they?
Yeah.
To use a pun.
Yeah, that's it. And even when I went to the people that hadn't come to our meetings yet, we've had 2. So I'm chasing them up and just, because I sent the initial invitation, that didn't really appeal to them. So then I went and appealed to them myself. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's really interesting. It's about going and having that conversation and then saying, it's about sharing. And I think, Karen's chooks are like the beautiful thing.
And I'm going to be rescuing some more chooks now too, some battery hens. So that'll be really good to do. Yeah,
Are you actually going to physically go in there and pull them out?
Well, no, but they only have them a hen lasts for 90 days and then and they've still got laying potential and they've never kind of had a dust bath and all of those things. So I'm feeling with the amount of food we're getting, I can probably rescue a couple of girls.
Awesome.
Which
there
would be
you
nice.
Go. We're saving chooks.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, and I think that's a really simple, easy thing for people to think because we have so much food waste. And, in this street, there's one couple that are elderly and then there's another lady that lives on her own, but everyone else has kids. And so, we have a lot of scraps.
Yeah, a lot of scraps.
Oh, there you go.
Do you want to come and feed them to the chooks yourselves so you can see?
We started a transition streets group about 12 months ago, and you've got the 5 themes: water, energy, food, waste, and transport. And we've covered all of them, and we've ended up we've got better electricity deals through it. We share fruit and veggies, when we've got excess. It's worked really well. We meet once every month or 2, and now we've gone on to a new stage where we're working at, where we go from now, and there'll be a lot more interchange of ideas, I'm sure, and maybe sharing of tools and equipment.
Like our neighbours, we're going to go out and get those leaves. They're going to be a good layer, or in the compost, or just front hotchooks that are only a year old.
This was our very first meeting in Transition Street, and so you're in this house with all these people who were members of Transition Street, all sitting around the table. And I remember saying, I am probably the last person you would ever expect at this forum. This is not me, this is not what I do, I sit in business, I manage people, I manage organisations, that's what I do. I don't go into these spaces. So for me, it was actually quite it was quite a leap just to get in the room. But what was even more profound was that in the next few minutes, when everybody shared their story about who they were, what they were, and their journey in life, it was like, wow, I can't believe these are my neighbours. And you walk past these people every day in the street, and they're all so amazing people, and yet we don't know it. We're completely oblivious to it because society kind of separates us all from one another, so we don't have this connection. And so I think things like Transition Street are really powerful for reconnecting and joining up people with their own neighbours and just understanding who people are, what they have to offer, and what they have to share, the amount of wisdom, knowledge, experience, and and people are basically there to help connect and join people rather than this corporate separatism and trying to keep people and holding fear and doing all of those sorts of things. You come into these environments and you realise, hang on, that's all fake. This is the real world, and we need to spend more time here.
Just to bring the community together. We're all really disjointed and no one seems to know each other very much along the street anymore. And I want to bring everyone together and have that sense of community again.
We get to know our neighbours and bring the horizon of trust back from the multinationals who run the food chain back to our neighbourhoods. And if the horizon of trust is in our neighbourhood, or in our community, then that's resilience. That's true resilience.
Actually, through the Transition Streets process and becoming part of a group, I've made some really close friends as part of my Transition Streets group. And it's been really, for me, not knowing anybody in Geelong when I first moved here, it's been really special, the people that I've met and meeting on a regular basis. So, it evolves so that you have those incidental things that you do together. We share things and everybody brings a plate. We share recipes or too much of stuff that we've got we'll share, or ideas for cutting down your power or water or anything. And each one of us comes away with something, an idea or often stuff that we've made, but there's always something that you leave, and all of us always feel really happy when we leave.
It's all about relationships and working together on practical projects and doing what we can, not necessarily doing everything, because the book is obviously, and the workbooks are really comprehensive. It's great to see just a few things that we can be doing and building up what is, a growing movement of people who are really passionate about making real change for themselves, but also for their neighbourhood as well, and seeing things emerge they didn't think they could do on their own by doing it together as part of a Transition Streets group. So it's really exciting, it's really great, and the network is growing.
Most Australians live as though there are 5 planets. If everyone lived the way we did, we would need 5 planets, and of course we don't have that. We've overshot Earth's resources in March this year. We've got climate crisis going on, so everything that we can do will help, and you'd be amazed at the impact of your actions on all the people that you know. So we want this information to spread, and so the ecological footprint that is in the Transition Street workbook that neighbours get together and form a little group and do, helps you sort of understand what your footprint is and where that comes from. So again, anyone that would like to form a little neighbourhood group and get free books to go through that program, come and see me when we're having coffee.
How do people do it if they want to start a transition group in very concrete terms?
Well, the first thing is to contact me, and you can do that via email or my phone number's on the site. And I get together with people over a cuppa usually and just explain what's involved. And basically all it is, we have a template invitation letter. We decide on a first meeting date, time and venue, and I email the person that letter if they're happy to go ahead, and they fill out the details, which is just really the date, time, venue and their name and their contact details and an RSVP date. Then they email it back to me. One of our local MPs has been kind enough to offer to print 200 of those. I get it back to them. They just letterbox their area, and within 1 to 2 weeks, they'll have between 4 and 10 households who want to start, and it's very exciting and it's very fast. And then we just have the first meeting. I'll come to support. Everyone gets a free 180-page book that takes them through the process. There's no need to design anything or create anything. They just usually bring food to share, and then they're off and running. And they also get connected through other things with other groups in the region. Westerners, we're reasonably wealthy, rich people on this planet, and we're the ones with the big ecological footprint. It's not poor people, it's not the lower socio-economic groups, it's not people in Africa. We're the ones who need to make the change. So even if government said tomorrow we're going to make all these big changes, we would still need to make changes as well, because a lot of it is about behaviour. So it's also very empowering because it's something you can do at home in lots and lots of different ways. The other thing is that it's holistic. It's the only thing that I've come across which incorporates water, energy, food, transport, waste and consumption. And if we don't tackle all of those, we can be doing a great job with our energy and then be blasting our ecological footprint out of the water by blowing it on something else, like, 5 trips to Europe in a year or something like that. So it's about getting a whole picture, and then it's about connecting with others. So we've got friends within walking distance, and then we've got a larger community as well in Geelong, of a whole community of friendly, caring people who are supportive. And so some groups really got that, people really got that. In the early days, I think I didn't stress the ecological footprint enough, and that the goal is to get that down from an average of 5 planets per person to 1. So that's our goal, is by the time we've gone through those at least 7 meetings, maybe 1 a month, is that we actually have reduced our ecological footprint on the planet to 1 planet.
Think global, act local. That was what the saying was. And so it was a really good saying, but we really didn't have any practical way of applying it. And for me, Transition Streets was probably the very first time that you had something that you could use to apply this notion of, there's a global issue, but you can do things locally. And so for me, that was Transition Street, was this doorway into how you could do something in your own life, in your own space, in your own world. And that's really for me what Transition Street was.
Thousands of fish have been killed as the result of climate change and water mismanagement. Health authorities are warning Australians to stay out of the heat today as temperatures climb yet again after heat records were broken yesterday. Australia's ongoing heat wave has been pushing temperatures to almost 50 degrees Celsius in parts of the country, as the nation has recorded some of its hottest days ever. Health officials are warning Australians to stay out of the heat and to keep...
We, the young, are deeply concerned about our future. Humanity is currently causing the 6th mass extinction of species, and the global climate system is at the brink of a catastrophic crisis. Its devastating impacts are already felt by millions of people around the globe, yet we are far from reaching the goals of the Paris Agreement.
The paradox is, that there's really big stuff happening, and at the same time I've got to wash the dishes. I've got to speak nicely to the neighbour. I've got to be patient with people who don't know anything about peak oil or climate change, at the same time as feeling like, stop doing that, And this is just, I think, it's the age we're living in, and we've got to find our way through that. And I think kindness to ourselves and others, and care and nurturing is probably the quickest and most effective way through that.